They told me to stand against the far wall and say nothing. The capital spire of Ethon Prime rose through the clouds like a blade of glass, and at its highest point lay the woman I had been ordered to watch die. Empress Alara Vane, sovereign of 12 star systems, architect of the Human Recognition Accord, reduced to a silent figure on a levitating crystal bier. Her skin, once radiant with flowing bands of silver-violet light, had dimmed to a dull ash. The royal energy signatures that marked her bloodline flickered erratically beneath the surface, like a failing power grid. Around her, the imperial physicians stood in concentric formation, their robes shimmering with diagnostic glyphs. Irreversible neural collapse, High Physician Kareth announced. His voice carried the calm certainty of someone who had never been wrong. The degeneration has reached the cortical nexus. There is nothing further to be done. Nothing further. The words echoed inside my skull. I was Daniel Brooks, human medic, seconded to the Imperial Medical Corps as part of a diplomatic exchange. My official function in that chamber was ceremonial, an observer. A token, proof that humanity was being included. My actual orders had arrived that morning in a sealed directive from the Regency Council. Do not interfere. Allow the natural conclusion of events. Maintain diplomatic neutrality. In plainer language, let her die. I kept my hands clasped behind my back and stared at the floor as protocol demanded. But I could hear her breathing, shallow, uneven. I could see the faint tremor in her fingers. And I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This did not look natural. I was already turning to leave when I saw it. Not something dramatic. Not a flashing console or a sudden convulsion. Just a rhythm. Her breathing. The physicians had begun their ceremonial withdrawal, measured steps, lowered heads, the choreography of surrender. The chamber's outer lights dimmed in response, shifting into the soft blue spectrum reserved for final hours. It was meant to be peaceful, dignified, but Alara's breath wasn't fading. It was fighting. I stopped near the threshold, pretending to adjust the medical case at my side. I counted silently. Inhale, irregular. Pause, too long. Exhale, shuddering release. Then a pattern. 3 shallow breaths. 1 strained pull. A tremor in the left hand. Not random. Not progressive neural collapse. It was oscillating. My stomach tightened. I had seen that before. Titan reach. The mining colony disaster had officially been labeled atmospheric contamination. Equipment failure. Tragic miscalculation. But that wasn't what killed most of them. It was the aftershock. Workers exposed to a synthetic extraction catalyst that bonded to neural pathways and mimicked degenerative decay. The scans at the time showed nothing conclusive. Neural collapse, the doctors said. Age-related vulnerability. Stress. Until it wasn't. Until someone noticed the pattern in respiratory lag and peripheral tremor frequency. Until someone refused to accept the obvious answer. I took 1 step back toward the bed before my better judgment could stop me. High Physician, I said. The words felt illegal. Every head in the chamber turned. Silence fell heavy and immediate. Kareth's elongated pupils narrowed slightly as he regarded me. The human medic speaks? I kept my voice steady. Her respiration pattern is inconsistent with terminal cortical failure. A ripple of restrained offense moved through the circle of physicians. You are present as observer, Kareth replied coolly. Your species' medical frameworks are not transferable to imperial physiology. I understand that, I said quickly. But degeneration doesn't oscillate like this. It declines. This is fluctuating. One of the junior specialists made a soft, dismissive sound. You presume to diagnose the Empress? No, I said. I'm suggesting the possibility of external interference. The air changed. Subtle, but immediate. Clarify, Kareth said. I stepped closer to the bedside despite myself. The royal guard stiffened but did not move. Her tremor frequency increases during oxygen spikes, I continued. Her cortical readings dip only after vascular pressure shifts. That's not structural neural collapse. That's signaling disruption. Kareth's tone cooled further. We have conducted 12 full-spectrum scans. Did you filter for bonded agents? His expression sharpened. What agents would evade Imperial bioscans? On Titan Reach, I said carefully. A synthetic compound was engineered to bind to neuroreceptors before dispersal. It masked itself by mimicking endogenous decay markers. The scanners read it as natural degeneration. A faint murmur spread across the chamber. You compare a mining accident to the physiology of the imperial throne? One physician asked sharply. I'm comparing symptoms, I said. 3 shallow breaths, 1 strained pull, peripheral tremor in rhythmic clusters. That's not collapse. That's blockage. Caritha's gaze drifted toward the diagnostic display above the Empress's bed. The neural degradation map glowed in soft amber waves. It is textbook progression, he said. No, I answered quietly. It's textbook disguise. The silence that followed was different from the earlier one. This wasn't dismissal. This was calculation. You imply sabotage, Carith said at last. I imply a toxin, I corrected. Synthetic, possibly metal-based. Something designed to interfere with neural transmission without triggering immune cascade. The junior physician laughed softly. Human paranoia, or human experience, I said. The room stilled again. Carith stepped forward at last, approaching the bedside console. He reviewed the live feed, fingers moving across translucent controls. His composure did not crack, but something behind his eyes shifted. You are aware, he said without looking at me, that suggesting assassination in this chamber is treason adjacent. I'm aware, I replied. Your government is negotiating elevation status within the Galactic Assembly. Yes. And you risk that position with reckless speculation? I held his gaze. If she dies, I said quietly, those negotiations die with her. That was the truth none of them wanted spoken. Alara Vane had championed the Human Recognition Accord. She had argued publicly that humanity's adaptability made us valuable allies rather than volatile upstarts. Her illness had conveniently halted that momentum. Too conveniently. Run a targeted scan, I said. Filter for bonded metallic compounds interacting with her energy signatures. A sharp intake of breath from someone in the outer circle. Her royal markers are sacred architecture, a physician snapped. They cannot be interfered with by primitive chemistry. Everything can be interfered with, I said. That's what makes it biology. The Empress's hand twitched. Not random. Reactive. I saw it. Carith saw it too. He hesitated. And in that hesitation, the balance shifted. Very well, he said at last. 1 scan. The order rippled outward. Technicians adjusted parameters. The chamber lights brightened fractionally as deeper spectrum imaging activated. I stepped back, pulse hammering. I had just defied a direct Regency directive. If I was wrong, I would be removed from Imperial service before the day ended. Possibly expelled. Possibly worse. But if I was right, the display flickered. The standard neural degradation map dissolved into layered spectral readouts. Streams of data scrolled in alien script, translating into probability matrices. For several long seconds, nothing changed. Then, a spike. Not in the neural field. In the vascular overlay. Carith leaned closer. Isolate that cluster, he ordered. The image magnified. At first it looked like noise, anomalous shimmer along the royal energy conduits. Then the filter adjusted, and something else appeared. A secondary signature. Faint. Metallic. Threaded through her circulatory pathways. Bonded. Masking itself within the luminal frequencies unique to imperial bloodlines. The chamber fell utterly silent. Carith did not speak immediately. He recalibrated. Verified. Ran the scan again. The anomaly persisted. This is, one of the junior physicians whispered. Not degeneration, I finished softly. Carith straightened slowly. His face revealed nothing, but his voice had lost its earlier certainty. Continue isolation protocols, he ordered. Full compound analysis. He turned to me then. For the first time, he did not look at me as a ceremonial accessory. What precisely, he asked carefully, did you say this resembled? I swallowed. Synthetic toxin exposure, I said. Engineered to look like natural collapse. Across the chamber, the royal guards shifted uneasily. Because if it was synthetic, then it was intentional. And if it was intentional, then someone had not simply waited for their empress to die. They had tried to ensure it. And I had just spoken that possibility into existence. If you've watched this far, then this story is really interesting to you. Please confirm it by clicking like under this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me understand what story to publish for you next. Write in the comments who the alien woman in this story looks like, and who you would like to see in the next one. Let's move on. The chamber no longer felt like a place of mourning. It felt like a crime scene. The physicians moved with new urgency, their earlier composure fractured into clipped commands and overlapping diagnostics. The spectral display above Empress Alara Vane's body shifted into deeper bands of analysis, isolating the foreign signature now unmistakably threaded through her bloodstream. I stood exactly where I had been told to stand earlier, against the wall, but I was no longer invisible. The metallic anomaly glowed in cold blue against the warmer frequencies of her royal energy matrix. It pulsed faintly in time with her heartbeat, synchronized to her vascular rhythm. That was the brilliance of it. It wasn't fighting her biology. It was using it. Compound density increasing toward the cortical nexus, one technician reported. Impossible, another murmured. Nothing crosses the royal barrier without detection. Kareth ignored them both. Enhanced magnification. Molecular separation. The image fractured into atomic lattice projections. A crystalline structure emerged, interlocking chains with adaptive bonding surfaces. Designer architecture. This wasn't environmental contamination. This was built. Metallic base, Kareth said slowly, but modified reactive to luminal signatures. I stepped forward before I could stop myself. It's frequency locking. He shot me a look, but didn't order me back. It's not just bonded to her circulatory system. I continued, my eyes tracking the patterns. It's calibrated to her specific royal resonance. That's why it evaded detection. Standard scans would interpret it as natural fluctuation within her energy field. One of the junior physicians stared at me in disbelief. You understand our resonance systems? No, I said, but I understand concealment. Tighten reach again. The way the catalyst had masked itself by mimicking degradation markers. It hadn't attacked openly. It had blended in. Kareth adjusted the scan once more. This time the metallic threads brightened, isolating fully from the background matrix. Gasps filled the chamber. The compound wasn't random. It formed patterns, deliberate pathways converging toward the neural cortex. This was introduced systemically, Kareth said. Gradual saturation, not a single exposure. Which meant proximity, which meant access. Someone close enough to administer it repeatedly without raising suspicion. The air seemed to thin. Trace origin vectors, Kareth ordered. The technicians hesitated. That requires Senate-level authorization. Kareth's gaze hardened. You have it. That sentence alone changed everything. Because Senate-level authorization implied political ramifications. The scan deepened further, analyzing isotopic markers embedded within the compound structure. Those markers were like fingerprints, unique to specific manufacturing processes, specific regions, sometimes even specific research divisions. Minutes passed in taut silence. Then the system produced a match. Partial, encrypted, but recognizable. Imperial Defense Research Directorate, a technician whispered. No one spoke for several seconds. The Defense Directorate did not design medical compounds. They designed weapons. This cannot be correct, one physician said weakly. Kareth's expression had gone dangerously still. Verify. They did. Twice. The result did not change. The compound carried encrypted isotopic markers tied to classified research under the Directorate's jurisdiction. Projects restricted to Senate oversight. My pulse thundered in my ears. Because the Directorate answered directly to the Imperial Senate. And if the Senate had sanctioned development of a compound capable of frequency locking to royal energy signatures, then this wasn't an assassination attempt born of chaos. It was policy. Seal the chamber, Kareth said. The doors slid shut with a resonant hum. Security fields activated across the walls. No one would enter. No one would leave. The royal guards stiffened at the perimeter, hands resting on their weapons. Daniel Brooks, Kareth said, turning fully toward me for the first time. Explain precisely how you identified this. The shift in tone was unmistakable. Not contempt, not dismissal, demand. I recognized the oscillation pattern, I said carefully. Natural neural collapse doesn't fluctuate in rhythmic clusters. Toxin interference does, especially synthetic compounds designed to inhibit transmission gradually. And you are certain this mirrors Titan reach? Not chemically, I replied. Structurally. The design philosophy is the same. Mask the attack as degeneration. Delay detection. Allow the target to decline naturally in public perception. Kareth studied me in silence. You realize what you are implying? Yes. That members of the Imperial Senate had engineered a toxin specifically calibrated to the Empress's royal biology. That her illness was not tragic coincidence. It was orchestration. The display above us flickered again as compound analysis completed. A secondary report emerged. This compound degrades under high-frequency resonance, a technician said cautiously. Kareth's eyes sharpened, meaning it can be destabilized, but only if the host survives the neural suppression long enough. I exhaled slowly. She wasn't doomed. Not yet. But time was narrowing. A faint sound drew my attention back to the bed. Alara's fingers twitched again, more forcefully this time. Her eyelids fluttered. The room froze. Kareth, one physician whispered. Her energy channels flickered faintly beneath her skin, reacting to the intensified scanning frequencies. The toxin responded too, tightening its bond, brightening in resistance. It was adaptive, which meant whoever designed it anticipated detection eventually, and built it to fight back. She's responding to the analysis, I said urgently. The compound is reinforcing. Reduce spectral intensity, Kareth ordered immediately. The glow dimmed slightly. Her breathing steadied marginally. We were provoking it. The realization settled heavily in the chamber. This wasn't just a passive toxin. It was engineered for longevity, for subtlety, for deniability. High Physician, one of the guards said quietly, if this is Senate-linked. Yes, Kareth replied. We are beyond medical protocol. He was right. This was now political warfare, and I had just become central to it, because I was the one who had seen it first. The human, the outsider, conveniently expendable if silence became necessary. Kareth seemed to reach the same conclusion at the same time. He stepped closer to me, lowering his voice. You have placed yourself in considerable danger. I'm aware. The Defense Directorate does not appreciate exposure. I didn't expose them, I said. The scan did. You initiated the scan. True. He held my gaze for several seconds. Then something unexpected happened. He inclined his head. Not deeply, but unmistakably. Your observation was correct. The words felt heavier than they should have, because in this chamber, acknowledgement carried weight. Begin compound destabilization modeling, Kareth commanded the team. We proceed as though recovery is possible. Recovery. The word sent a shock through the room, because recovery implied resistance. Resistance implied conflict. And conflict meant that the Empress's death had not been inevitable. It had been engineered. Outside the sealed chamber, the Capitol spire still stood serene against the clouds. The Senate likely believed events were unfolding exactly as planned. The Empress dying quietly. Human negotiations dissolving. Power transferring cleanly. They did not yet know that the pattern had been broken, that the toxin had been seen, that the human they had dismissed as ornamental had refused to obey his orders. I looked at Alara's still form. Her breathing was fragile, but present. And beneath her skin, faint and defiant, a thread of silver light flickered against the dark. They had called it irreversible neural collapse. They had called it natural decline. They had ordered me to stand down. Instead, I had forced the truth into the open. And now there was no going back. The Regency directive arrived again before the treatment plan did. It came encrypted, routed through 3 separate diplomatic channels, and delivered directly to my personal console inside the sealed medical chamber. Stand down. Imperial physicians will assume full control. Human personnel are to withdraw immediately. No explanation. No acknowledgement of the toxin. No mention of the Defense Directorate markers we had uncovered. Just a quiet reminder of my place. I stared at the message for a long moment before locking the screen. Kareth was watching me. You have received instruction, he said. Yes. To withdraw. Yes. He studied my face, as if measuring something. And will you? Across the chamber, Alara lay suspended in the containment field, her energy channels dim but stable. The compound still threaded through her bloodstream like metallic frost. The destabilization models were incomplete. The Imperial physicians had identified resonance frequencies that weakened the toxin, but the margin between destabilizing it and destroying her neural lattice was razor-thin. They were brilliant, ancient, experienced beyond anything humanity could claim. But this compound had not been built by accident. It had been engineered to outthink brilliance. And brilliance, in my experience, often missed the simplest patterns. I won't, I said quietly. A few heads turned at that. You understand, Kareth replied evenly, that defying a Regency order may result in your removal. Permanently. I understand. He held my gaze another second. Then he nodded once. Then you will assist. The chamber shifted again. Not politically this time. Medically. We moved into triage mode. Imperial stabilization techniques were elegant, non-invasive energy modulation designed to harmonize disrupted neural frequencies. They had already been attempting it before the toxin was identified, believing the collapse to be natural. But harmonizing something artificially blocked was like tuning a string wrapped in wire. You could adjust the pitch. You couldn't remove the obstruction. We require a destabilizing agent, I said, studying the spectral projections. Something that competes for the bonding sites. Our biochemistry does not include such agents. One physician replied sharply. Mine does. The room quieted again. You propose introducing human compounds into imperial royal blood, another said incredulously. I propose giving her a chance to live. Kareth folded his hands behind his back. Explain. I brought up my own interface, projecting molecular diagrams beside the toxin lattice. Human detox protocols relied on chelation, binding metallic toxins with molecules that could safely escort them out of the body. Crude by imperial standards, but effective. The compound is metallic at its base, I said. Even with its frequency-locked design, it still relies on bonding structures. If we introduce a chelating agent calibrated to the destabilization frequency you identified, we may be able to pull it free. May, someone repeated. Yes, I said. May. Human chelation protocols are imprecise, Kareth observed. They're adaptable. I pulled up Titan Reach data, carefully redacted. The compound used there had been nowhere near as sophisticated, but the extraction models showed how chelation agents competed for receptor sites under specific energy modulation. If we combine your resonance destabilization with controlled chelation pulses, I continued, we can weaken the toxin's grip long enough to extract it in stages. Extraction may damage the neural lattice further, a technician warned. So we're leaving it in, I replied. Silence again. The debate was no longer whether I should speak. It was whether they were willing to gamble imperial pride on human improvisation. Kareth made the decision. Prepare limited human chelation compound, he said. Controlled microdosing. Several physicians looked horrified. You endanger the throne, one whispered. No, Kareth replied. The throne has already been endangered. That was the closest he would come to acknowledging treason aloud. I accessed my medical kit, isolating the compound. It was designed for human physiology. It would need recalibration for Alera's metabolic rate, which ran nearly 30% faster than ours. I adjusted the formula under Kareth's supervision, syncing it with the destabilization frequency the Imperial team had identified. My hands were steady. Inside, I was not. Because if this failed, I would not only lose my position. I would become the foreign medic who poisoned the Empress during her final hours. And that narrative would be very convenient. She may not survive the first extraction cycle, Kareth said quietly as we prepared the injector. She won't survive without it, I answered. He inclined his head slightly. Permission. The injection port slid into place along her forearm. Her skin was cool beneath my fingers. Even unconscious, her energy channels reacted faintly to my proximity, silver threads flickering weakly under the surface. I activated the first microdose. On the overhead display, the chelating molecules entered her bloodstream, luminous against the toxin's darker threads. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, the toxin reacted. Its metallic lattice flared violently, tightening around neural pathways. Her heart rate spiked. Stabilize, someone shouted. Kareth adjusted the resonance field, increasing destabilization frequency by a fractional increment. The chelating agent pulsed again. This time, a fragment of the metallic thread detached. Just a sliver, but it moved. The display confirmed it. One strand pulled free from the cortical nexus and redirected toward filtration. She's responding, I breathed. Her fingers twitched. Not tremor this time. Voluntary motion. The chamber erupted into controlled chaos. Calculations, recalibrations, energy adjustments. We repeated the pulse. Another strand loosened. Not cleanly. There was resistance, and her neural readings dipped sharply. I felt my pulse match the rhythm of the extraction. Too fast, and we'd shred her neural network. Too slow, and the toxin would rebind. She's stabilizing between pulses, Kareth said. Continue. We worked in cycles. Destabilize. Chelate. Extract. Pause. Each round stripped away a microscopic portion of the compound. Her breathing deepened slightly after the third cycle. By the fifth, her heart rhythm steadied. By the eighth, the metallic threads had thinned visibly. Sweat gathered at my temples. I ignored it. Outside this sealed chamber, the Regency likely believed her decline was progressing as expected. They did not know she was fighting. We were hours into the procedure when something changed. The toxin adapted. The remaining threads shifted configuration, compressing toward the core of her neural lattice. "It's learning," one physician said. "No," I corrected. "It was designed to do this." A failsafe. If destabilized, it would cluster in a final concentration, maximizing damage before full extraction. "We must accelerate," Kareth said. "That increases neural risk. So does allowing it to consolidate." I adjusted the chelation pulse amplitude. Her entire body arched slightly against the containment field as the next extraction wave hit. For one terrifying second, her neural readings flatlined. The chamber went silent. Then, a surge. Her energy channels flared silver-white beneath her skin. The metallic cluster fractured. Not cleanly, but enough. Fragments dispersed into her bloodstream, immediately bound by the chelating agent and redirected toward filtration. The neural readings stabilized. Weak, but stable. I let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. Kareth stepped back from the console slowly. "The primary concentration has been broken." It wasn't gone, but it was no longer dominant. We ran 2 more cycles at reduced intensity, clearing residual fragments. By the time the final extraction wave completed, the spectral display showed only trace remnants. Manageable, filterable. Her breathing had deepened into something closer to natural rhythm. Color began returning faintly to her skin. The silver threads beneath the surface flickered more consistently. One of the junior physicians whispered something in their native tongue, something that sounded suspiciously like awe. I stepped back from the bedside. My hands were shaking now, not from uncertainty, from relief. "She will live," Kareth said quietly. It wasn't triumph. It was fact. But facts carried weight in this chamber. The Empress of Ethon Prime had been engineered to die. Instead, she was stabilizing. And I had just committed irreversible defiance of a Regency order to ensure it. Across the room, my console chimed again. Another directive. "Stand down immediately. Report to diplomatic containment." I closed the notification without reading further, because I already knew what it meant. The Senate would not appreciate this outcome. And this had never been just about medicine. But as I looked at Alara, color slowly returning, silver light strengthening, I knew something else. They had ordered me to let her die. Instead, I had helped her survive. And the consequences were only beginning. The first sign of the second phase wasn't an alarm. It was silence. 3 days after the extraction procedure, the recovery wing had settled into a fragile rhythm. Alara remained unconscious but stable. Her neural readings strengthened incrementally with each passing hour. The metallic compound was gone, reduced to harmless fragments filtered through Imperial bioprocessors. Officially, the palace had announced a medical anomaly. No mention of poisoning. No mention of Senate involvement. The Regency had gone quiet. Too quiet. I should have recognized that as the warning it was. The recovery wing was secured by 4 layers of military protocol. Royal Guard rotations every 4 hours. Biometric locks. Atmospheric screening. Which is why, when the corridor outside her chamber fell completely silent mid-shift, my pulse immediately spiked. No footsteps. No guard comm chatter. No ambient hum from the outer field generators. Silence in a facility that never slept. I stood from the monitoring station and moved toward the door. "Kareth?" I said softly. The High Physician was reviewing neural recovery data. He froze when he saw my expression. "What is it?" "Listen." We both held still. Nothing. Then, a faint metallic clatter from the outer corridor, followed by a strangled sound that cut off abruptly. Kareth's eyes widened. "Seal internal access," he ordered. Too late. The chamber doors exploded inward in a flash of blinding white. The shockwave threw me sideways into a console. Pain burst across my ribs as I hit the floor. When my vision cleared, 2 royal guards lay motionless just beyond the shattered doorway. And in the smoke stood a figure in matte black combat plating. Not ceremonial armor. Not standard guard issue. Military stealth design. The assassin moved with terrifying precision. No hesitation. No speech. straight toward the Empress's containment field. My brain barely kept pace with what my body was already doing. I lunged. The assassin's blade flashed, a narrow, elongated weapon humming with suppressed energy, designed to bypass standard shielding. I tackled him just as he reached the bed. We crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs and armor. The blade grazed my shoulder, slicing through fabric and skin in a hot line of pain. He was stronger than me. Faster. Not just trained, engineered. He recovered instantly, pivoting to drive the blade toward my throat. I jammed my forearm against his wrist and twisted hard. The blade grazed the floor, carving molten lines into the crystal surface. He shifted tactics without pause, knee to my ribs, elbow to my jaw. Stars burst across my vision. I'd grown up on a frontier colony where fights were messy and rules were optional. He fought clean. I didn't. I drove my thumb into the joint at the base of his helmet where plating met seal. Not enough to penetrate, just enough to destabilize his balance. He staggered. I headbutt him. Pain exploded across my forehead, but his grip faltered. The blade clattered away. He reached for a secondary weapon. I didn't let him. I tackled him again, slamming him into the fractured doorway frame. Armor cracked against reinforced crystal. He recovered faster than I expected, flipping us, so I hit the ground hard. His gauntlet hand closed around my throat. Black crept at the edges of my vision. And then, a sharp metallic impact rang through the chamber. The assassin jerked violently. A ceremonial blade protruded from his shoulder plating. He collapsed sideways. Alara stood behind him, barely upright, containment field flickering around her. Her skin was pale, but her eyes, silver violet, burned with focused fury. She had pulled herself out of recovery. The blade in her hand trembled slightly, but not from weakness. From rage. The assassin tried to rise again. She stepped forward and drove the blade deeper. He stilled. For several seconds, the chamber held nothing but the sound of our breathing. Then the alarms finally triggered. Security forces flooded the corridor, weapons drawn, scanning the room. I rolled onto my side, gasping for air. Alara swayed. I forced myself upright despite the screaming protest from my ribs and caught her before she collapsed. Her body was warm against mine, fragile, but alive. "You should not be standing," I managed hoarsely. "And yet," she whispered, her voice unsteady but clear, "I am." Security officers surrounded the fallen assassin. Helmet removed. Not an outsider. Imperial. Kareth stepped forward, face ashen. Identity confirmation? A guard scanned the assassin's biosignature. Defense Directorate operative. The words dropped into the room like a detonator. Proof. Not speculation. Not inference. An operative from the same directorate whose isotopic markers had been embedded in the poison. The coup had escalated. Alara's fingers tightened slightly in the fabric of my uniform. "You were meant to leave," she murmured. I understood immediately. The second phase. If I had obeyed the directive and withdrawn after stabilizing her, the recovery wing would have been less protected. The assassination attempt cleaner. The narrative simpler. Natural death. Regency confirmed. Alliance dissolved. "You were meant to die quietly," I said softly. She met my eyes. "And you were meant to obey." We held each other's gaze for a fraction too long. Security forces dragged the assassin's body away. The chamber doors were resealed. Medical staff rushed to examine both of us. But the damage had already shifted the political landscape. This was no longer hidden poisoning. This was open coup. Kareth approached carefully. "Your luminance," he said formally, though his voice trembled slightly. "The evidence is now indisputable." Alara straightened slowly in my arms. She was still weak, but there was iron in her posture. "Secure the operative," she ordered. "Full interrogation." "Yes, your luminance." "And notify the council that I will address them upon stabilization." The guard hesitated. "Your authority was transferred during your incapacitation." She silenced him with a look. "My authority was stolen. It is not gone." The room fell silent again. Because she was right. Her neural stability readings were climbing steadily. The silver light beneath her skin glowed brighter than it had since before the poisoning. They had attempted subtle removal. It had failed. They had attempted direct elimination. It had failed. And now, for the first time since I had entered that chamber days ago, she stood on her own feet. Wounded, exhausted, but unbroken. She looked at me then, really looked at me. "You moved without hesitation," she said quietly. You were in danger. You are human, she replied. You had every reason to protect yourself. I had one reason not to, I said. Her gaze softened, but only slightly. Because guards still watched. Because politics still breathed down the corridor. Kareth cleared his throat gently. We must return you to recovery, your luminance. Yes, she said, but she didn't step away immediately. Her fingers brushed mine once, brief, deliberate. Not royal command. Not political calculation. Something else. Security sealed the wing under military lockdown. The assassin's presence would not remain quiet for long. The Directorate would scramble to contain the narrative. The Senate would fracture along fault lines that had been hidden beneath ceremony. And somewhere in the chaos, a decision would be forced. Remove her publicly, or face her openly. As I allowed the medics to examine the cut along my shoulder, I understood one thing with absolute clarity. They had ordered me to let her die. Instead, I had interfered. Twice. First with medicine, then with blood. And now the coup was no longer theoretical. It was exposed. And so were we. Recovery was not quiet. It was political. The assassination attempt forced the Senate into public fracture. The Defense Directorate operative survived long enough for interrogation, long enough to confirm authorization chains that traced disturbingly high into the Regency structure. Names were spoken, not loudly, not officially, but enough. And during all of it, Alara remained confined to the recovery wing, officially for stabilization, unofficially for protection. And somewhere in the space between those two truths, everything changed. Her authority had been temporarily transferred to Regent Malrek during her incapacitation, a loyalist to the faction that opposed the Human Recognition Accord. The transfer had been legal under emergency health provisions. Clean, procedural, engineered. Now that she was conscious and recovering, the legality of that transfer was under dispute. The Senate had not anticipated her survival. They certainly had not anticipated proof of assassination. I stood at the far side of her chamber, reviewing neural regeneration scans while she sat upright for the first time without assistance. Her energy channels glowed faintly beneath her skin, silver lines threading through pale violet. Not as brilliant as before, but alive. You should rest, I said quietly. She tilted her head slightly. You speak as though I am fragile. You were nearly murdered twice. And yet, she replied, I remain inconveniently alive. A faint smile ghosted across her lips. 3 weeks ago, I would have interpreted that as political deflection. Now I knew it was something closer to relief. I moved closer to adjust the stabilizer nodes at her temples. Her gaze followed me. Regent Malrek addressed the Senate this morning, she said. I heard. He claims my judgment is compromised. That's predictable. He claims my alliance initiative endangered imperial sovereignty. That's strategic. And he implies, she continued carefully, that my reliance on a human medic is evidence of emotional instability. That one landed differently. I kept my expression neutral. You did rely on me, I said. Yes, she answered without hesitation. Because you were correct. Silence settled between us. Not uncomfortable. Charged. I should return to diplomatic quarters, I said finally. Your recovery is stable. My presence only complicates matters. She studied me for a long moment. Do you wish to leave? It wasn't a political question. It was personal. I hesitated. I don't wish to create additional ammunition for your enemies. Her eyes darkened slightly, an imperial equivalent of irritation. You believe my enemies require assistance. I believe they will use whatever they can. And you think your absence protects me? I didn't answer, because part of me did. Part of me believed that stepping back, returning to human delegation housing, would reduce the narrative that I had somehow manipulated her survival, that I was an external influence, a contaminant. You saved my life, she said softly. You helped me survive, I corrected. She stood slowly, still regaining strength, but steady. She moved closer, close enough that I could see the subtle variations in her energy channels, where extraction scars still shimmered faintly. While I lay dying, she continued, Malrek initiated emergency succession protocols. I knew, but hearing it from her was different. My authority was transferred to him under the pretense of medical incapacity. And now he claims continuity, meaning he had no intention of relinquishing power quietly. Does the Senate support him? I asked. Some, she said. Not all. And the Directorate? Her gaze sharpened. The Directorate moves with the Senate's majority faction, meaning the coup was not a rogue action. It was factional, and the Human Recognition Accord. I asked carefully. Her expression softened. That is precisely why they moved when they did. Because if she died, the Accord died with her. Humanity would remain tolerated, never elevated, never equal. You were not targeted randomly, she said. I know. You were targeted because you saw what they hoped no one would see. I didn't go looking, I replied. You went looking at me, she corrected gently. The words hung in the air. I felt something shift. Professional distance thinning. Political lines blurring. You should not trust me, I said quietly. Her brows lifted slightly. Explain. I'm human. I'm new to your systems. I don't understand your internal factions fully. If this becomes open power struggle, I could be used. You already are, she said. There was no accusation in it. Just truth. They use you as evidence of my supposed weakness, she continued. They use your species as argument against integration. They use your presence as narrative. And you? I use truth. She stepped closer still. There were guards outside the chamber, medical staff down the corridor. But inside this room, the air felt private. You held my hand while I could not speak, she said quietly. You defied direct orders to allow my death. You placed your body between mine and a blade. I swallowed. I acted on instinct. Instinct reveals character. Her fingers brushed mine. Not accidental. Deliberate. You ask whether your presence harms me, she continued. It does not. It complicates everything, she interrupted softly. Yes. We stood like that for a long moment. The unspoken thing pressing at the edges of conversation. I have spent 15 years as Empress, she said eventually. Every alliance calculated. Every gesture strategic. Every word weighed. And now I find myself grateful for a human who looked at me and saw a patient, not a symbol. My throat tightened unexpectedly. This cannot become a weakness, I said. Her gaze sharpened slightly. Do you believe affection is weakness? I believe it is leverage. She considered that. You think I am naive. I think your enemies are not. Silence again. Then she did something I had not anticipated. She reached up and touched my face. Lightly. Her skin cool, but steady. Daniel Brooks, she said softly. You are not leverage. Right now, I am the most controversial figure in your capital. Because you are inconvenient, she replied. And because I stopped myself. She tilted her head slightly. Because you what? Because I care. Because somewhere between monitoring neural scans and arguing about destabilization frequencies at 3 in the morning, something had shifted. Because when I thought she was going to die, something inside me fractured in a way that felt personal. I don't want to lose you, I said finally. The words felt reckless, uncalculated. Her breath stilled slightly. You already risked that once. That was different. Was it? We were very close now. Close enough that protocol had long since become abstract. You are my empress, I said carefully. When we are alone, she replied. I am Alara. The name settled between us. Dangerous. Intimate. Alara, I said quietly. Her energy channels brightened faintly beneath her skin. A subtle response. You are aware, she continued, voice low, that if the Senate removes me, association with me becomes liability. I'm aware. And if I retain power, my visible attachment to you becomes political statement. I know. And yet, she whispered, you remain. I was ordered to let you die, I said softly. Her fingers tightened slightly at my jaw. And you did not. No. Then perhaps, she murmured, we are both guilty of defiance. I exhaled slowly. This is dangerous. Yes. Her thumb brushed the edge of my cheekbone. And yet, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Outside this chamber, the Senate prepared for confrontation. Regent Malrek consolidated support. The Directorate calculated containment strategies. Inside this room, something else consolidated. Not strategy, not alliance, something personal. And that might prove even more dangerous than the coup. But for the first time since I had arrived on Ethon Prime, I wasn't thinking about diplomacy. I was thinking about her. And the realization that I no longer wanted to stand at the far wall and observe. I wanted to stand beside her, even if that meant choosing a side, even if that meant becoming the narrative they feared, because they had ordered me to let her die. Instead, I had helped her survive. And now, whether I intended to or not, I was helping her fight. The council chamber was built for intimidation. 12 elevated platforms arranged in a perfect arc, silver-white light cascading from the vaulted ceiling. The imperial crest suspended above like a judgment waiting to fall. Regent Malrex stood at the center platform when we entered. He did not bow. "Alara Vane," he said evenly. "You were declared medically incapacitated. Authority was transferred lawfully." "And yet," she replied, her voice steady and resonant across the chamber, "I stand before you." Murmurs rippled outward. I walked half a step behind her, close enough to stand with her, far enough to respect protocol. Malrex's gaze flicked to me. "And you bring the human," he said. "The outsider whose interference destabilized imperial continuity." "The human," Alara answered, "whose intervention exposed an assassination attempt authorized by your directorate." Silence. Hard. Absolute. She gestured subtly. The chamber screens illuminated. Isotopic markers. Interrogation transcripts. Visual confirmation of the operative in the recovery wing. Evidence. Undeniable. Malrex's composure cracked by a fraction. "You rely heavily on this human," he said sharply. "Your judgment is compromised." "No," she replied. "My judgment is clarified." She stepped forward. "When I lay dying, you did not move to protect the throne. You moved to replace it." A wave of tension swept through the council. "You orchestrated poison masked as illness," she continued. "You sanctioned a blade when subtlety failed." "I deny." "You will not," she cut in, her voice carrying power that vibrated in the chamber walls. The directorate operative confirmed chain authorization. Malrex's eyes flicked briefly, just once, toward a council member to his left. "That was enough." "I call for a vote," Alara said calmly. "Not on my capacity. On Regent Malrex." Shock registered across multiple platforms. No one had expected her to reverse the confrontation so cleanly. "You cannot," Malrex began. "I can," she replied. "And I do." The vote initiated. 12 lights. One by one. Green, green, green. A pause. Then another. And another. 9-3. Malrex's authority collapsed in a silent cascade of dimmed light. Security stepped forward. He did not resist. As he was escorted from the chamber, he looked back at her, then at me. And for the first time, I saw not arrogance, but realization. The plan had failed because it had underestimated one variable. Me. The chamber slowly emptied. Council members bowed, some sincerely, some calculatingly, and withdrew. When the doors finally sealed shut, only Alara and I remained at the center of the vast hall. She turned to me. "You were ordered to let me die," she said softly. "Yes. And instead, I helped you reclaim your throne." A faint smile touched her lips. "You did more than that." I didn't answer, because the weight of what we had done, politically, personally, was still settling. She stepped closer. "No guards. No council. No audience. I will proceed with the human recognition accord," she said quietly. "Fully. Publicly. That will cause backlash." "Yes. And you?" Her eyes held mine. "I choose you," she said. "Not as empress. Not as strategy. As Alara." I stepped forward until the distance between us vanished. "I didn't defy orders for politics," I said. "I know. The future would not be simple. The Senate would fracture further. The Directorate would reorganize. Opposition would continue. But in that moment, beneath the suspended crest of an empire that had nearly erased her, she stood steady. Alive, crowned, and unafraid. They had ordered me to let her die. Instead, I had helped her survive. And together, we had changed the empire. Thank you for listening to this story to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Write in the comments what moment in this story impressed you the most. And also check out the other videos that just appeared on your screen. See you in the next video.